welcome to our next episode of the Hormone Café. Today we're going to talk about the truth about artificial sweeteners and fake sugar, what they're really doing to your hormones and fertility. For those of you who are my patients and know me, you know that I have a huge vendetta against artificial sweeteners, so today we're really going to break it down. If you've ever chosen a diet soda, a sugar-free snack, or a protein bar thinking, oh, this is a healthier option, you're not wrong, you're trying to support your body. But what if there are better choices that are actually sending... But what if these better choices are actually sending really confusing signals to your hormones? Today, we're going to break down what artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols actually are, what they do in our body, and why I recommend avoiding them, especially when we're trying to support our fertility and our hormone balance. So what are they? What exactly are we talking about? When we talk about artificial sweeteners, they're literally created in a lab. They're designed to taste sweet without having the calories. Sounds pretty great, doesn't it? They're oftentimes 100 to 600 or 1,000 times sweeter than sugar. Some examples are aspartame, sucralose, which is the brand name Splenda, Saccharin, asulfame, neotame, advantame. So brand names are Equal, Splenda, Sweet and Low. And then those are literally completely artificial. They're 100% made in a lab. They're designed to tell your body, oh, we're having sugar, but it's not actually sugar. The problem is that your body thinks it's having sugar, but then it literally cannot process these things because they're literally chemicals created in a lab. We'll get to that a little bit later. The second thing that we're talking about is sugar alcohols, okay? So it's literally sugar plus alcohol. Partially sugar, partially alcohol. They're partially absorbed and they're often marketed as natural. So they're not exactly sugar because when we talk about actual sugar, we're talking about the scientific chemicals, literally sucrose, fructose, and glucose. So they're not those, they're not sugar, but our body doesn't just ignore them. It sends the same similar sugary signals to our brain. So example is Xylitol, so that starts with an X, Erythritol, Sorbitol, Maltitol, Mannitol, Lactitol, and then there's something called hydrogenated starch hydrosylates, which is HSH. So, little rule, if it ends in OL, it's likely a sugar alcohol, okay? And then the next thing that we're talking about is plant-derived things like stevia and monk fruit. I have so many patients who say, okay, well, if I can't add sugar or honey to my coffee, then I'm going to add stevia or monk fruit. Isn't that healthy? So I really want to go into why those things are so bad for you and why we don't just want to substitute one bad thing for another. So for one thing, when we're putting that sweetness into our body, our brain is getting confused because it's expecting energy. Because when we're literally putting sugar into our body, our brain thinks, okay, here comes the sweetness, here comes the dopamine, the oxytocin, the happy feelings, and now it's about to get energy. However, no real fuel arrives, right? Because now we're eating these either lab created or fake sweeteners or half fake sugary things where you're getting those sweet tings to your brain, but you're not actually getting any fuel. So this literally leads to increased cravings, more desire for sweetness, and dysregulated hunger cues. Because usually when we get sugar, we get energy. But if we're getting fake sugar, we're not getting energy. So that's why if you want to have sugar, I would way rather that you actually have sugar, right? If you want to have sugar, have coconut sugar, have some dates, have honey, have agave or maple syrup. It's way better to have actual sugar than it is to have something artificial. But what we want to do is we want that ping to our brain where we're still getting the happiness from sugar and it still tastes sweet, but we don't get the calorie. That's actually really bad for our brain regulation, okay? Because it just trains our body to want more and not less. And the whole goal is not to substitute one bad thing for another bad thing, right? We don't want to eat this sugar-free granola thinking that we're being all healthy, but it has a whole bunch of erythritol in it. And then we're just literally training our brain to crave more sweet things, right? The whole goal is that we want to decrease our total sugar intake. So we're training our brain to crave savory things and not sweet things. Another thing is that it causes a lot of blood sugar and insulin disruption. I was having this conversation in the OR the other day when I was operating, and the anesthesiologist was shocked, and he said, monk fruit doesn't spike your blood sugar, stevia doesn't spike your blood sugar, but it actually does in some people. So if you wear a blood sugar monitor, and I have tons of my patients wear continuous blood sugar monitors, and they eat an artificial sweetener or they have something with monk fruit in it, and they're shocked because it literally raises your blood sugar. So if you're eating something that your body thinks is sugary, but it's not actually sugar, it can still give you an insulin response and it can still raise your blood sugar, okay? So it triggers our pancreas to start making a bunch of insulin, which gives us a high sugar spike and then a crash. So it can literally worsen our insulin sensitivity over time, which can make ovulation issues worse. It can make PCOS issues worse. It can make our egg quality worse. So of course, I'm a huge fan of having everything be personalized. I really like you to wear a continuous blood sugar monitor or a continuous glucose monitor and see, because of course, if it's really spiking your blood sugar, that's something that you want to stay away from. If it's something that doesn't spike your blood sugar, it's not that it's healthy, but it's something that you might want to make that choice. If you're choosing between two sweet things, you want to choose the thing that doesn't spike your blood sugar. So the third reason that these types of artificial sugars and sweeteners are not good is because they literally disrupt our gut microbiome, okay? Because artificial sweeteners, like literally these chemicals that are just being made in a lab, can alter our gut bacteria, because our gut bacteria actually want some kind of sugar and some kind of carbohydrates, right? There are certain bacteria in our gut that are literally designed to eat sugar. So if we're not eating the sugar that gut bacteria is designed to eat, then that bacteria is literally going to die off and it's going to alter our gut microbiome. Also, sugar alcohols, literally alcohol is going to ferment and lead to a lot of gas and a lot of bloating. So if you're a person who struggles with gas and bloating, just really do a huge food audit. Make sure you're not having artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols, because it can really change your gut microbiome and it can cause a lot of gas and bloating. So it's something that we don't really think about. We tend to think about being able to process it and metabolizing it and causing an insulin or a glucose spike, but we don't really think that those literally can disrupt our gut microbiome, okay? The other thing is that they can also cause inflammation, and they can cause oxidative stress, because our body at least knows how to metabolize and process sugar. So when we give it sugar, so in the form of sucrose, glucose, or fructose, our body literally is designed to metabolize and process that, right? It's not necessarily good for us in huge amounts, but we know how to process it. If we give it something created from a lab or something that's half fake sugar and half fake alcohol, then our body doesn't know how to process that, and it's stored in our bodies, and then our body sees that as something foreign, and it causes increased inflammation and then oxidative stress on our body, which really affects our egg quality and our implantation environment in our uterus. So when we think we're being healthy, we just want to make sure that we're actually choosing something healthy and not something that's fake healthy. And then you want to be good and savory and healthy about 80% of the time. So 20% of the time you can have a treat. You can have something sweet. You can put some honey in your coffee, right? We don't want to make that our habit every single day, but we want our habits to be based on true, real science, true, real, excellent food, not fake food. We want our 80% to be good, healthy, truly good food for us, so that 20% of the time we can go out to eat. We can have a bar with something sugary. We can have a fun latte, something like that. So big reasons that we care about all this, it really has to do with our insulin regulation, our gut balance, our cravings, and then our chronic stress on the body. So where do these things hide? Please audit your food. Make sure you look at every single ingredient, because they can hide in places that we think are healthy. Very commonly, protein bars is a huge one. Protein powder is a huge one. If you have a flavored protein powder, like if it says vanilla or chocolate or brownie or candy cane or any other flavor, I guarantee if it doesn't have regular sugar, it has an artificial sweetener, okay? So please watch those things, even though if it says organic or natural or sugar-free or no artificial sweeteners, stevia and monk fruit are not labeled as artificial sweeteners, okay? So they can still have artificial sweetener while the label literally says no artificial sweetener. So please look at the back. Please empower yourself with the knowledge so that you can make excellent and good decisions for your body. Other things that you want to look for are diet sodas, so be careful. Even though it seems healthy, if it says organic, if it says protein soda, look at the back. Please make sure it doesn't have artificial sugar in it. Sugar-free gum is another big one. Mints can often have sugar alcohols or artificial sweeteners. Electrolyte powder is extremely common. It's very, very, very difficult to find electrolyte powder that doesn't have artificial sweetener. And again, it's not that you can't ever have those things. It's just that you don't want to make that part of your routine every single day. So if your routine is literally to have electrolytes every single day, whether that's for hydration, energy, recovery, you just don't want to be putting stevia or aspartame or sucralose into your body every single day, okay? So if it's going to be a daily thing, it needs to be very pure and very savory. If it's going to be a treat, then okay, you know it's a treat. You know it's might be going to spike your blood sugar, but you have it every once in a while. It's not something that's in your day. The other thing is when we think about pre-workouts or workout shakes, please check and make sure that they don't have artificial sweeteners. Another thing is a lot of greens powders. So A1, that kind of a thing, they actually have a lot of artificial sweeteners in them. So if you're doing some kind of like a powder, and then the last thing is a supplement, like please watch your supplements. Unfortunately, literally supplements can have sugar alcohols in them. I've seen a lot of maltitol, a lot of erythritol in supplements. So if you're going to be putting that into your body every single day, you definitely don't want it to have a sugar alcohol, okay? So things that also we see a lot are low sugar yogurt. So if it says low sugar, oftentimes it has aspartame or sucralose in that. Flavored nut milks are humongous culprits. If you're a person who does, for example, almond milk or oat milk or soy milk, please, please, please look at the back. Make sure it doesn't have artificial sweeteners. Coffee creamers is another really big one. Unless you're literally doing 100% dairy-based coffee creamer, it's almost guaranteed to have some kind of an artificial sweetener in it. Keto snacks and desserts are another big one because sweeteners that are created in a lab technically have 0 calories. They can be dubbed as keto, okay? So they're not technically keto because they're literally triggering our sugar receptors. And so when we think about keto, we're thinking about things that don't trigger our sugar receptors, okay? So anything that's labeled keto, if it's in a package, please look at the back. Please make sure you know what's in it. Another thing is diabetic friendly foods, for example, often have artificial sugars and artificial sweeteners because again, they taste sweet, but they don't have the same number of calories in them. Meal replacement shakes is another big one. If it has a flavor, especially if it's a sweet flavor, I guarantee it's going to have some kind of an artificial sugar. The sneakiest, craziest ones are things like salad dressing. Salad dressing, unfortunately, can literally have sugar in it. Of course, we want it to be as sugar-free as possible, or if it has some sugar, you just literally want it to say sugar, honey, dextrose, something like that, not artificial sweeteners. Sauces, condiments, spices are huge culprits. Just do a little audit, look at all your sauces, look at all your condiments, look at all your spices. In a perfect world, none of those things would have any sugar, but it's extremely common. It's common to put sugar in your spices. It's common to have sugar in ketchup, but at least if you're having it, it's better to have sugar, like actual regular old sugar, than it is to have an artificial sweetener, okay? And then gummies and vitamins. The reason that I really, really don't like gummies is because they always either have some kind of sugar or even worse, an artificial sweetener, okay? Watch your toothpaste. Toothpaste often has xylitol in it, okay? So check literally everything that goes in your mouth. I want you to audit this week and see if it has a sugar, alcohol, or an artificial sweetener. And like we talked about, unfortunately, supplements and even medications, prescription medications, please make sure you know all the ingredients. If it's something you're putting in your body every single day, we want it to be as pure as possible. Oftentimes, if it's not pure, we'll compound it for you at a compounding pharmacy. So again, when we're reading labels, these are the things that I want you to look for and avoid, okay? Our artificial sweeteners like our aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, acesulfame, neotame, advantame. And then our sugar alcohols are going to be our xylitol, erythritol, sorbitol, maltitol, mannitol, isomalt, lactitol, okay? And then our stevia extracts, now companies are getting really, really sneaky, and instead of putting stevia, they'll put things like Reb A, which is extremely highly processed, or they'll put other forms of stevia. Monk fruit blends are another thing that you got to stay away from. It's often mixed with erythritol. And also, even things when it says natural flavors, unfortunately, natural flavors can actually hide blends of sugar, alcohol, sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, because in order for it to be on the back of a label, it has to be a certain amount on the food, right? But if it's less than 1% of the food, we don't actually have to put it on the label, and we can just write natural flavors. So in a perfect world, we would just stay away from natural flavors if it's something that we're going to be consuming every single day. So this is what I want you to do this week. Action item for you is to literally audit every single thing you're putting into your mouth, okay? Audit your toothpaste, audit your supplements, audit your prescription medications, audit your snacks, your bars, your creamers, anything that you're putting into your coffee, okay? Flip over the back, look at it, make sure that the ingredients are very pure and you know what every single one of those ingredients is, okay? So what you want to do instead is whole foods first and then reduce your overall sweetness tolerance, okay? We want to make sure that sugar does make us happy and that we don't get addicted to sugar where we feel like we just need it all the time, instead of that it brings us joy, it makes us happy. It's something that we use rare occasionally as a treat because it brings happiness into our lives, okay? We want it to be something that's joyful and not something that we're addicted to. So better options are literally sugar, right? Dextrose, for example, honey, maple syrup, dates, or fruit, because fruit has a lot of sugar in the form of fructose. So again, we don't want to be having sugar every single day, all the time, and we want to watch our sugar to protein ratios, for example, and watch how much sugar we're putting into things. But if we want something sweet, please stick with real natural sugars and not artificial sweeteners, okay? We don't just want to trick our bodies into being healthy. We want to work with our biology and not override it. So if you've been using these, you're not alone. We literally all have. Every time I go to the grocery store, I try to buy what I think is a healthy granola, and I flip over the back and I think, oh my gosh, this literally has erythritol in it. It's supposed to be the cleanest, most organic, best granola, low carb, low sugar ever, and here it is having a sugar alcohol. So we're all on the train. We're all on the struggle train. It's really hard to do this. It just is, because everything, literally everything nowadays has artificial sugar and sweetener in it. And this is what we've been taught is healthy, right? Like this low sugar, no artificial sweetener, just do stevia and monk fruit. That's what we've been taught is healthy. But now you have better information. You can empower yourself and you can make good decisions for your body. Just always flip over literally everything, medications, supplements, packages. Make sure you look and see what's in it, okay? When it comes to fertility and hormone balance, your body does best with real, consistent nourishment, okay? We don't want to confuse it by giving it something that's made in the lab, or something that is half processed and half not, or something that is confusing our body to make us think that it's sweet, but it's actually not giving us energy, okay? Our hormones don't like mixed signals. They like consistency, and sweetness without substance isn't supportive, okay? If we're gonna have the sugar, we need to have actual sugar, because that teaches our body that when we have sugar, it also comes with energy, okay? So we don't want to be tricking our bodies. We don't want to be feeding our sugar addiction. We don't want to be substituting one bad thing for another bad thing. The whole goal is to train our bodies not to be craving sugar, not to be addicted to sugar, but to crave sweet and savory things, so that when we do have sugar, our body knows how to metabolize it. Our body knows how to use it. It works with our gut microbiome and not against our gut microbiome. And it truly makes us happy and brings us joy and enhances our life. Okay. So if you're going to make a change, please message me. I would love to hear about it. If you found something sneaky and you thought, oh my gosh, I just opened my bars or I just opened my supplements and I found this in it, please tell me. I would love to hear about it. And if you're feeling very overwhelmed by all of this, please don't hesitate to make an appointment with me or one of our other providers here at Vera. What we do best is we sit down and spell it out for you and we break it down so it can seem very, very manageable. Don't give up on yourself. Use this to empower yourself and make yourself truly healthy and feel amazing every single day. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join us on our next episode of the Hormone Cafe.